Hi everyone, my name is Kristen. I also go by Ms.Filmingo and welcome to today's video. So I have an exclusive for you all today. I'm so excited to share my interview with Amy Canaan Mann, who is the director behind the latest film, Audrey's Children, which is set to hit theaters on March 28th. And this film has a wonderful cast. We have Natalie Dormer, who gives a fabulous performance as Dr. Audrey Evans, along with Jimmy Simpson, Clancy Brown, and Brandon Michael Hall. And before we jump into my interview with Amy, I want to give you all a quick rundown of the film. Audrey's Children tells the untold true story of visionary British physician Dr. Audrey Evans, who burst onto the scene in 1969 as the first female chief of oncology at the world-renowned Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Battling sexism, medical conventions, and the subterfuge of her peers, Evans developed the first Neuroblastoma Staging System, co-founded the first Ronald McDonald House for families of patients, and ultimately impacted the lives of millions of children and families around the world. Now that you all know a little bit about the film, let's jump over to my interview with Amy. Alrighties, it's so lovely to meet you.
It's great to meet you too, Kristen.
Okay, so I must say congratulations on all the hard work on the film. It was fabulous. I watched it last night.
Oh, thank
And
you.
yeah, of course. And I want to ask you right away, why did you decide to hop on this project?
Well, I was lucky enough to be sent the script and I was reading it, and then I got to the scene where Audrey is speaking to a child on the roof of the hospital, a patient, about how this patient can kind of conceive of her own passing, her own mortality. And I
Yeah.
thought, my God, no adult wants to be in that situation.
No.
A
Yeah.
kid and having to have those conversations with a kid. And here was somebody who did that daily and for decades, and at the same time was fighting with everything she had to try to save their lives. And I thought, this is somebody whose story I really would like to help tell.
What do you think makes Audrey so inspirational?
There's many things that make Audrey so inspirational. I would say that, her tenacity coupled with that she's a human and she has flaws. I mean, she does, the
Mhm.
story, she's not a perfect hero, quote unquote. And that in my mind, in my point of view, makes her actually more of a hero because she's,
Yeah.
she goes too far sometimes, or she goes in the wrong direction sometimes, and yet she brushes herself off and she just continues to go. And she sees the world around her as being, it takes place in 1969, and so it's not dissimilar to where we are right now. There's a lot of chaos. It's easy to feel disheartened. It's easy to feel like you want to just fix everything and yet you can't. But she sort of honed in on what she could do and focused on that and focused on the care of the most, vulnerable among us, children, and
Yeah.
was able to make a little bit of difference in that. That's a heroic act in my point of view.
I love the fact that you mentioned that she never gave up on
Mhm.
these children, and you could see the performance shine through Natalie, and the whole cast is stellar between Clancy Brown and Brandon Michael Hall. What was it like bringing this cast together, and what did you enjoy most working with everybody?
Oh, what I enjoyed most about working with everyone is that they are to a cast member, and including all the children, some of whom are professionals and many of whom were not. They were incredibly present, incredibly passionate, incredibly dedicated. Everybody was, I mean, it doesn't happen on all projects. This was a
Hmm.
very special project in that everybody was there kind of for the same and the reason, and that they really believed in the story and they really believed in its telling. And then, now I knew that I wanted somebody to play Audrey who had a kind of fire in her, a kind of solidity to her, and that's Natalie to a T. I'd seen her in other work, a remake of Picking at Hanging Rock specifically. She just had that quality, and you really love watching Natalie think, which was important for this character. Clancy Brown, who just happens to look exactly like C. Everett Koop, so that but
Yeah, I
also
noticed that, and when I was
I
doing my research, I was like, "Oh, you got that like
know,
spot
yeah.
on."
Yeah. And he also just has a kind of like in his person as a person as well as an actor, a kind of kindness and warmth and gravitas. Jimmy Simpson was my first choice, our first offer, and he said yes. So I got incredibly lucky there. And I knew I needed somebody who had a kind of really, really, really strong backbone, which Jimmy has, but also not, you wouldn't, it's a tricky balance. You don't want that character to feel like he's trying to dominate Audrey, but you don't want Audrey to feel like she can dominate that character. And they really kind of are two, they're almost, it's almost like yin yang. They're sort of two halves of a whole. They kind of really complement each other very well.
They
and Brandon
do.
Michael Hall's brilliant and charming, and Julianne who plays Mia, the little girl, is just like incredible. And yeah, I'm very proud of the work that we were all able to do. They were amazing.
Everyone was amazing here, and you had a really great cast on your hands. What was the biggest challenge you face as a director?
I really have a tremendous amount of respect and esteem for actors. I've taken acting lessons, not to be an actor, God help me, but to be a better director. And I just, even those lessons that I took, years ago, there's no way I could. What we asked them to do is kind of incredible. We asked them to be completely vulnerable and heartfelt at 2 o'clock in the morning in front of 100 crew members over and over and over again. I mean,
Mhm.
it's quite a thing that we asked them to do. And so I try to directorially, I try to create, one of the things I try to do is create a space that feels safe, that they can be as vulnerable as they feel they'd like to be in terms of that moment's performance. So I don't know that I would say it was a challenge, but it was sort of a construction around this film specifically, that particularly when we were working with kids, that the set was calm, that the set, as much as it could be on an independent
Yeah.
film, 20-day shoot, but that it was calm. I met with the crew beforehand and said, this today's a day we're working with kids, and let's all keep that in mind. And the crew was beautifully sensitive to that. So
Oh,
it
that's
was just making
wonderful.
sure in the midst of the crazy schedule, creating calm and time frame and a safe space for them.
It seemed like a very safe space for everybody just to bring a lot of emotion to the set. And I'm not sure if Audrey got to see it because I saw she had passed in 2022, but I saw the little clip at the end and I thought, oh my gosh, that's beautiful to see her appear in the film. Did she get to
Yeah.
see the final work and did you get to meet her?
I got to meet her a couple times. I was lucky enough to meet her. She was as spry as ever, told me stories about her childhood. That's how we came up with the tuberculosis ward flashback. There's a story
Yeah.
when I got to meet her. So I felt very lucky. She passed 2 weeks before we wrapped, so did
Oh,
not see the film. She did meet all the cast and
oh,
loved them.
wonderful.
And I think she kind of I like to think she gave us her blessing, and that she's somewhere seeing it in some way, shape, or form. But no, she didn't actually get to see the finish, sadly. But
But
yeah,
it is beautiful that you did dedicate the film to her and the children, which I thought was very, very sweet. One thing I noticed about you as a filmmaker, the last film you directed was back in 2014, the Jackie and Ryan. And you worked on a lot of action-packed shows, Deadly Class and The Runaways. What was it like directing like on a television set compared to a film set? And which one do you prefer working on more?
they're actually not dissimilar. They're really just in terms of pacing and um, how efficient you need to be. I mean, I like to, I love the puzzle. I mean, I love many things about directing. One of them is just the puzzle of it, how do we get this, the best work possible in this finite period of time with these finite resources. So in a way, directing independent film is really similar to directing television. Um, and I like them both. I mean, what I love about directing independent film, and I'm strictly independent film director,
Mhm.
is the ability to create an entire world, an entire universe, um, and to design the color palette, the patterns, the lens choices, the cameras we're going to use, to be very discerning about locations and costuming and all of that, and really kind of try to create almost, I think of it like a restaurant. Like I like to be in the back of the house making an amazing meal and then sort of like serve it to an audience to sort of sit back, relax, enjoy. You can get lost in this world for an hour and a half. That's a really beautiful thing to be able to do when you're doing a film.
Now, finally, I only have time for one more question. It is Women's History Month, and I'm happy to see this film be released during this time.
Yeah.
Who is one other important historical female living or who has passed do you think deserves a biopic?
Oh my gosh, what a huge question. I feel like this is just off the top of my head, but I kind of feel like the suffragettes have not got their due. I,
Yeah.
yeah, those were some really tough women. They were, I mean, we think of it, we have images of them and they're with their white, banners and, they got us the vote, but they were also arrested. They were mistreated when they were incarcerated. They were, mocked and spit on. I mean, they really fought the fight. for something that I think, as we tend to do, as history rolls on, we a little bit take for granted. So I don't know. I would say the suffragettes. I think they haven't really had their moment yet.
I feel like you would be a great director then to help tell a story like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hadn't actually, it literally had not occurred to me until our conversation just now. But maybe.
I want to thank Amy for taking the time out of her busy schedule. It was a great honor to learn more about the film, and I hope you all check out Audrey's Children hitting theaters on March 28th. That's going to wrap up today's video. Please be sure to like, comment, and share this video, and don't forget to follow me on social media. The links are provided down below, and I will see you all next time. Bye!